His brothers threw him into a pit and left him there to die. Then sold him to slave traders for 20 pieces of silver. In Egypt, he rose to run the household of a powerful official, then was falsely accused and thrown in prison. He spent years in that prison, forgotten by the one person who promised to remember him. And then, in a single day, everything changed. The man his brothers sold for 20 pieces of silver became the second most powerful person in the most powerful empire on earth. This is the real story of Joseph, and it was written for every person who has ever been betrayed by someone who should have loved them and wondered if God was paying attention. Joseph was the 11th of 12 sons, born to the patriarch Jacob. But he was the firstborn son of Rachel, Jacob's beloved wife, who had died giving birth to his 12th son, Benjamin. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, and he gave him a richly ornamented robe, a coat of many colors that set Joseph apart from every brother around him. Favoritism is a beautiful gift to the one who receives it, and a slow poison to everyone watching. But God was already at work, even in the dysfunction of this broken family. Then Joseph had a dream. He dreamed that he and his brothers were binding sheaves of grain in a field, and his sheaf rose and stood upright, while his brothers' sheaves gathered around it and bowed down. He told his brothers, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more. Then he had another dream, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars, bowing down to him. He told his father. Even Jacob rebuked him. But God had spoken, and what God speaks, no amount of hatred or betrayal can ultimately stop. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers who were pasturing the flocks near Dothan. His brothers saw him coming from far away, and before he arrived, they plotted to kill him. "Here comes the dreamer," they said. "Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns." But Reuben intervened. "Throw him in the cistern, but don't lay a hand on him." They stripped Joseph of his robe, the ornamented coat he was wearing, and they threw him into the cistern. While Joseph was in the cistern, his brothers sat down to eat. Then a caravan of Ishmaelites came by, on their way to Egypt. Judah said, "What will we gain if we kill our brother? Let us sell him." So when the Midianite merchants came by, the brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 pieces of silver, and they took him to Egypt. Then his brothers slaughtered a goat, dipped Joseph's robe in the blood, and sent it to their father. Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. The Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and gave him success in everything he did, Potiphar put him in charge of his entire household. Joseph was well built and handsome, and after a while, his master's wife took notice of him. She falsely accused him, and Potiphar had Joseph thrown into the prison, where the king's prisoners were confined. But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison.
They will not break me.
What happens next in Joseph's story is the part that will change how you see every painful season of your life.
I have waited for this moment for a long time.
In prison, Joseph met two of Pharaoh's officials, his cupbearer and his baker, both imprisoned for offending the king. Both men had dreams they could not explain. Joseph interpreted them. To the cupbearer he said, "In 3 days Pharaoh will restore you to your position." And Joseph made one request. "When all goes well with you, remember me. Mention me to Pharaoh. Get me out of here. I was forcibly carried off from the land of the Hebrews, and I have done nothing to deserve being put in this dungeon." 3 days later, Pharaoh restored the chief cupbearer to his position. But the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. 2 full years passed.
Still unbroken.
2 years later, Pharaoh had a dream. 7 fat, healthy cows came up out of the Nile, followed by 7 ugly, gaunt cows that ate the fat ones. None of Egypt's wise men could explain it. Then the cupbearer remembered. "There is a young Hebrew man in the prison who interpreted my dream correctly." Joseph was quickly brought from the dungeon. He shaved and changed his clothes and came before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said, "I had a dream, and no one can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it." "I cannot do it," Joseph replied, "but God will give Pharaoh the answer. 7 years of abundance are coming to Egypt, followed by 7 years of devastating famine. You need a wise and discerning man to store a fifth of the harvest during the 7 good years." Pharaoh said to his officials, "Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." So Pharaoh gave Joseph authority over all of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, 13 years after his brothers threw him in a pit. The 7 years of famine came, just as Joseph had said, and people from all over the world came to Egypt to buy grain, including Joseph's 10 brothers. They came and bowed down to him, with their faces to the ground. Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. And Joseph remembered his dreams about them. Joseph turned away from them and wept. Then he revealed himself to his brothers. "I am Joseph. Is my father still living? Come close to me. I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt." Joseph's story is for every person who has ever been betrayed by someone who should have loved them. For every person who has done everything right and still ended up in the pit, in the slave market, in the prison, forgotten by the one person who promised to remember. Here is what God wrote into Joseph's story for you. Not 1 year of Joseph's life was wasted. Not the pit, not the slavery, not the false accusation, not the prison, not the 2 years of being forgotten. Every single painful chapter was preparation for the one that came next. God was not absent in Joseph's darkness. He was present and working in ways Joseph could not see, could not understand, and could not have planned. And when the moment came, it came completely. From prison to palace in a single day. From forgotten to second in command of the world. Joseph said to his brothers the most powerful words in the entire Old Testament. "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." Whatever pit you are in today, God has not lost track of you. He has not forgotten your name, and He is still writing your story. The same God who was with Joseph in the pit is with you in yours. If Joseph's story spoke to something you are carrying today, if you needed to hear that God has not forgotten you and is still writing your story, please like this video and subscribe to His Story Told. Every week we go deeper into the lives of the people of the Bible and the lessons God wrote into their stories for every one of us. Hit the bell so you never miss an episode, and share this with someone sitting in their own pit today, someone who needs to know that God intended it for good. History is His story, and it is still being written. We will see you in the next one.